Just another update on Olivia, and you can watch as the storm gets completely blown apart and how they even added some additional chemically enhanced aerosol spray to really break the storm apart. It still had enough force to kind of reform a little bit, but it's so much weaker than it was. So watch this. You can see when it starts to have that square shape and the separated lines of the outer rings. They're literally using the chemically enhanced aerosol spray to just blow that apart, which they did, and then it kind of spun it off, and then the energy from it left over kind of is spinning out, and so that's what you get here, which almost looks like a reformation of a hurricane, but with the eye now off to the northeast corner of the Big Island. So, like I said before, we don't have to worry about a hurricane ever really doing much to these islands because they've gotten so good at destroying them, manipulating them, bending them, turning them on 90-degree angles. This is the third storm that we've seen come right by us, and they have blown it apart. And this is great that they are able to do this. God forbid they lose any of their military stuff on any of these islands because, that's so important to these war-minded control freaks that run our country. And let's take a look now at, this one, by the way, was just the entire Pacific coastline. I just wanted to show you this. Take a look at all these manipulated clouds. You can see a giant high pressure system being placed in over here off the coast of California. And how do we know that? Because when you look, when it shows up again, there's an absolutely straight line that's causing any moisture from coming into southern California. Plus, it's a giant square shape. I mean, let's all remember, surfers, when we used to watch all the meteorology reports, you never saw some kind of blockade. It's actually an inserted high pressure, preventing any of this moisture from getting into California. Isn't that interesting? So obvious. We have another spinning circulation down here, the bottom right-hand corner. We don't know what's going to happen with that one, but you can kind of see they're going to be manipulating that in no time. And then when you see the clouds, in just a second when it cycles through again, with all of these interesting textures, usually they start off pretty soft, and then as soon as they hit us with the EMF radiation, you get all these funny little bumps in the clouds. And that's just something new that we are supposed to get used to, and we're supposed to pretend as if this has always been the way weather's been working. Here you can see they're definitely this line of spraying, that sharp edge that's coming through. I don't know what they're trying to do here with this weather pattern, but they're definitely manipulating this one. So it's always good once you see some anomalies going on here to check the mimic. And there's so many other maps that you can check. I'm not the only one doing this now, as you can tell. There's lots of people that are realizing that, hey, this doesn't seem right. Something's going on with our weather patterns. So let's take a look here, see what they've been doing. Wow, look at the isospheric heating right there. That's a big, huge hit to try to destroy this hurricane. Look at this. Boom and boom. So they are doing what they can to turn this hurricane into a tropical storm before it hits the islands. And we're now seeing just a lot of wind. You can probably hear the wind outside. And you can see the ring down below the Hawaiian Islands. It repeats there, and then it repeats again above the Hawaiian Islands. You watch for it. The rings are kind of hard to see, but just watch for it. They're just little half circles that go under the island, and then there's the first one, another one that goes above the island. So it is pretty obvious that they have been really manipulating the storm, and I think that they were worried. They were showing off with the first storm to see how they could take it and make it go into a 90-degree angle, but cause and effect. The more you manipulate one situation, the other situations are also going to counteract that. And so I always get to the point where I think there's going to be a point where we need to be concerned, as they've manipulated the weather so much. There's going to be a time where it's going to fall back. There's going to be um, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of it. I'm sure it's, you know what I'm talking about. But when you've done so much, there's something that's going to happen that's going to cause all this to result in something unfortunate, because we seem to forget that we're all connected, and all the weather that our wonderful weather manipulators are fooling around with here is the same weather around the world, and sure enough, over time, it will cause and affect things to happen across the entire globe. And it's going to get to the point where it's going to be out of their hands to be able to control this. But, you know, they think that they're just so smart, and they want to act like God and be God to the point where they want to control the weather, clone things, control our minds. It's really sad when you think about it. So, if you can see right there, you can already see the digital lines coming across, which means that they absolutely did hit with the EMF radiation. A lot of that, look at that, let me go back a couple frames. A lot of that happening on our island right now. That's a lot of, if you're feeling fatigued for any reason, well, this could be why. A lot of the radiating of the heavy metals in the skies. And let me just go ahead and play it again. And so you can see the storm as it started to blow apart, and then as it blows apart, it almost leaves a little vortex of spinning to start another little eye wall coming around. But they did so much to destroy this to where now it's just a very odd spinning tropical storm. They've taken apart the major part of it to be a hurricane, and you can literally see that happen right before your eyes. If you look at the video that I did yesterday where I showed you how they were blowing the what they call bomulus or bomb clouds or something into the hurricane, which is all the chemicals in the hurricane, and then it made it square. You see a little left over where it was square up here in the corner, and then it started to destroy the outer rings. When you add the chemical compound into the moisture natural clouds, it's going to destroy the moisture of the storm, and that then broke it apart. You can see how it totally split apart, and then you see this little spinning cyclone start to reform a little bit and twist right there. So good job, weather manipulators, you and your crazy science, to destroy this storm. And you can see all that weird stuff as the leftover chemicals in the sky over here to the right of the storm, and then you see the spinning of the leftover energy of what they destroyed right there, and it's almost taking a southwest turn. So the digital lines of white show what they had done with the electromagnetic compounds sprayed into the storm itself. It just fascinates me and surprises me and makes me feel like we are really living in a sci-fi world more and more every day. When you watch this, and if you believe that, no, if you still are having a hard time believing in the geoengineering and weather modification, just start watching these maps. There will be things that absolutely blow your mind when you watch them for long enough. So there you have it there. I'm sure Stacy Dees will come on and show us even more exciting maps of what's going on. But I just thought it was important to check to see what's going on. But wow, if you don't feel the way you used to, you know, back in the 80s when you had a lot of energy and super, you know, healthy, this could be why. If they could spray enough stuff into a storm to destroy it and slow it down and take out most of the moisture of a hurricane, you know that that same chemical is the stuff you are breathing in, because the amount of it that they had to spray into this storm is just tremendous compared to the amount of air you breathe in daily. So just keep that in mind when you're wondering why doctors can't figure out what's wrong with you, and when you're wondering why you don't feel as good as you used to in the past. Just remember, the stuff that they're spraying in the sky to manipulate the weather is the same air that we are breathing in, which then falls out onto the same ground that we are growing our crops on. And it's just the way it is. You know, fortunately, there's enough people in the world right now who know that this is going on. They can see it, they can see how obvious it is, and they're probably coming up with indoor growing and, you know, tower gardens and better ways to create food and mask and hopefully some really good air filters in the future. Uh, so there you have it, our complete man-made weather reports. Thank you for watching, and aloha.